Hey, hi. Do you hear me all right? Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Hey. Good to see you. Welcome to Winter Wonderland. Hmm. Let's start by having a sitting here. So inviting you to find a good seat. And then let's dive in together. Yeah. And let's just start out by sensing into the frequency in our body. Sense the area around your jaw and your head space. Are you energetically relaxing there? And anywhere here you'll find any tension of any sort, it's simply your place now to let go and to drop the tension. You can check in on that frequency in your throat and your shoulders as well. Please give your heart, your chest room to breathe. Letting the shoulders roll back and relax down. Give your chest and your heart room to breathe. Draw yourself in. By putting weight and focus of loving attention towards your breath. Let yourself breathe all the way into your belly. Don't worry about the sensitivity and the vulnerability that follows that movement. It's supposed to be that way. Let that breath really extend into the hips. Down into the seat. I invite you to open your palms, facing upwards. And whenever you're ready, I welcome you to open your eyes. Very good. I think we're taking our 5 minutes tea making break, and then I'll see you here again. Hey! Good to see you. Some strong times, huh? And very beautiful also. We started making music here. That's that's a journey in itself, isn't it? It took on pretty crazy task, but we are both very let's get on. Sorry. We're both very new in the production area, and we see things very differently also. He's coming from this having been, well, with cello obviously and music since he was 6 years old, but his view on the whole thing is like performing, right? And performance, and I have no clue how to relate to that. I simply don't know what it means to perform. I'm there to, as another ally, to share myself. So performing, I don't, yeah. So yeah, I need to cover some ground there. Yeah, but I must say, very beautiful. It's like waves, right? It's like making love, basically, making music. And we have these waves where we're really on that wave together of the inspiration, and the whole space is just brimming of that potency, and that comes into the music, and getting some great recordings out of that. And then there is everything in between. Since he bought this completely incredible equipment, which is a great gift, of course, but also a huge work, if you ask me, because, well, to me, this could be very simple, but he has really the world's most complex music in his background. And so, yeah, we'll see. For me, it's like the more silence that in it is better, but doesn't have to be like sound wise, you know. But for him, it's the construction. It's yeah, I mean, he's used to Beethoven and Mozart and like really the great composition, you know, and he's like, yeah. So okay, but it's interesting because it's really a coming together, everything that needs to happen there. But I look forward to see the result at some point. Yeah. So that's a little about the dance that's happening here right now. Yeah, and he's German, and that's very, very obvious these days in terms of the structure and the da da da, and then there's me with good luck. Anyway, yes, we're dancing the dance. I look forward to see. I look forward to see. Yeah. Mm. Hey, Emilia.
Hi, Pema. I'm a bit unstable because I'm with my iPad tonight. Sorry.
Great. It's good to see you. Oh,
Yes.
mm, just need to-
It's been very interesting days of a lot of grief coming out. I wanted to share a little bit about the story of it because there is a story, and I shared parts of it earlier on, but now the story is coming up again, and I feel I need some support of, I don't know what kind of support, but some support. So a year and a half ago, I started this massage course. It's called Psychic Massage. It's a massage that works on the subtle body, the 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 psychic part. So everything archetypal that works energetic, that is around a person's soul. So past lives, emotions, everything. Depending on the person you have in front of you, different things appear. for me, it was, I didn't even want to, it was not my core. Like I joined because my sister invited me to go. I never had the desire to do massage. I'm an artist and I never, this kind of healing stuff for me. I mean, I never was, it wasn't, but then I went to this course. It's a 3-year course and we do 1 week, twice a year. It was like something pierced me. It was like a profound encounter, both with the practice and with the teacher. And so he gave a demonstration on me of the practice at some point, and something there was touched that was never touched before. And it's like there was a before and an after that. But then also with me and him, I feel, and he felt also that it was a deep soul encounter. And then I also had some partial memories of me and him having known each other in the past lives and encountering similar situation that we are encountering now in terms of, well, this, I'll go on speaking about it later because it will become clearer. But anyway, so we had this encounter and then I left Sweden because it was clear to me that I had to move on, but without really knowing where to go. So I took my car, I came to Italy. I went, he has a center, a meditation center with his partner. At the time, I didn't know he had a partner because they've been together for 20 years, but they have been going through a crisis the past years. And so um, things are unclear between them, or they were at that time. And so I started working them, helping out as a volunteer, and also at the same time looking for what I was doing with my art and with my things. But it's sort of like my identity started unraveling at the same time. Like it was like a weaving that started to undo itself more and more. And my attraction to him grew stronger. At the time, I didn't speak to him about it because I was just living it, this connection, but then there was a very strong sexual component to it. And when we started flirting and I started understanding that, but this I've shared already last summer, that he had a partner, I put a boundary up. I told him everything that was going on, and I left the place where I was staying. I came to another place, always in Italy, and I tried to take some space. Well, I wanted to take some space, but when we spoke, he told me a few things. He told me that he knew I had feelings for him, but he didn't say anything because he felt I was in a weaker position than him. So he was waiting for me to say something. He told me that he's trying to protect what he still has with his partner. He told me that if he falls in love, then he is up for leaving everything. But it was a very confused for me because I didn't really understand the message. But I felt the message was basically that he has not feeling the same feelings that I have for me, but he feels the attraction, but he was just enjoying it and just being open to it. So I took space, but then I started feeling this grief of this. And no, he told me another thing. He told me that it happens to him often that women fall in love with him, and that he is not necessarily seeking for that, but it happens. He is a man who surrounds himself with a lot of women, not necessarily partners. But it happens that he has a meditation and a teaching school, and a lot of the women are infatuated with him. And then I discovered that a lot of the men involved are infatuated with his partner, and I find this very uncomfortable. But anyway, going forward, I started the third level of the massage course in October. So it was a full week, and I went there, but I felt this, I took the summer to feel my feelings, and I felt I was okay. part of me was not sure if I should go or not, but I felt I wanted to try. And it was a disaster because my angry feminine really came out raging. He felt it. He got very uncomfortable. The whole group felt it. It was very difficult for me to contain the whole thing. Very, very difficult. I felt so much shame and guilt. And this has been ongoing for several months, the shame and the guilt of once again liking a man who not only doesn't like me back, but is together with somebody else. And it's very irrational, but the shame and the guilt, they are just there. It's like a burden, and it makes the grief hard to deal with because they have to go through this layer, this wall of shame. But then anyway, during the week of the massage, at some point I was meditating, I was dancing actually. We did a lot of dance meditations, and I managed to transform the longing for the desire for him into longing for God, for the masculine. And that changed, it shifted. So since then I was fine. It's like I came back. But this shift is not stable. It comes and goes, and I see that I'm still in this desire longing dance. I'm not managing to let him go. I think also that I have not finished the massage course, and this practice is so beautiful and I really love it. And I would love to be able to finish the course, but the situation with him is making me so stuck in this. And and last summer also, after I told him that I fancied him, a while after, he asked me to move actually to his meditation center and work with him and his partner. And to that I said no, because I was in the middle of in this grief process, and I also felt like disrespected somehow, or not about respect, but like unheard in my trying to let go. Because he also had told me when we had the conversation in June that he feels that when women tell him this, that I told him, then they disappear. And I told him that I was not going to disappear until things between me and him were clear. There was integrity in the field, and I felt a clarity of communication. But I don't know. It's just so difficult for me to. I feel, and I think this is a problem because in the past I've felt so, and I'm gonna use the word disrespect, but it's not entirely the right word. But the fact that people have not been clear with me, especially men, about what they felt. I felt used often. I felt just, yeah, put in the difficult position. And I stayed in it, and that was my problem. And now I don't know if it's the same situation, if I'm being, how to be honest with myself. I have spoken to, it's happened that I have some chronic inflammation in my body that really exploded last summer in my hands. So I've seen, because I just came to it, so I don't have a web of connections of healers or energy workers that can help, that I know. So I've tried many different people through friends that I've met. And there was this pranic healer who looked at me, and I hadn't even told her anything. She was like, you are going down the wrong path, and there is a man in your life who's using you. And I was just like, what? And and it was so hard. And that was around the time that he asked me to go live with him and his partner. But it was so painful to hear. But then also I had to take it in account because it was so I mean, the timing was very disconcerting. But anyway, so I took it into account in the sense that at that point I knew that I was following this attraction, and that's what would have led me to go move with him, not my wish to work. You know what I mean? So then I was like, okay, it's not my wish to go work there, then I have to say no. That I made it very simple. And then I worked on it, and I sort of took my time and I took the space. But then something similar happened recently, that I was told that, yeah, yesterday actually, I went to get a massage, and the person looked at my body and was like, what are you doing to yourself? Like, what are you doing? You are really mishandling your body. Your right side is completely contracted. And she, without me even saying anything, she's like, I would really consider what you're doing with your life at the moment, because you're hurting yourself. So, but the thing is that I am very good at this massage thing. So I am very much in a conundrum with this situation, and it feels like a very karmic. And I try, like, I always like simplifying things, but I'm having a hard time with this one. And so yeah, this is sort of the story in the picture, so to speak, of late, that is heavy. It's heavy in my heart, and there is a lot of tears shed. It's not even for us, but sometimes it's for him, because we were connecting a lot, and then since I told him I'm not gonna go live with them, he's sort of not much there anymore, and I don't know why. He said he wanted to take some space, and he wanted to talk, uh, but then the situation of talking hasn't come up. And actually his partner is in Denmark at the moment for work, and he's gonna join her in Denmark, and I met her also a few times, and I don't know if I'm projecting, but I felt very attacked by her. I really did. And I have not done anything wrong. I really haven't. And I feel put in this situation where I'm doing something wrong. And this is resonating with one of my wounds, clearly, because otherwise it wouldn't make me suffer as much as it is. So yeah, this is the picture. And I don't really know what to do. And this is part also why I decided to come and visit you, because I needed to find a space for myself where I can really feel, and really feel where my own thread is moving. Because when I feel so much pain, I feel it's so easy to just react with emotion. And
Amelia,
yeah.
you need to go deeper than you are.
Mm.
You're making this into a situation, and actually there is no situation. There is yes and there is no. There's listening. If you extract all of the dancing around with this, you're back to the fact that there is a call and a deep longing for the masculine inside of yourself.
Yes.
There's a contraction in your right side, ergo, where your masculine can really be aligned with your living life and in action. So this is not really about him.
Mm.
You need to go deeper than you are with this, because you're caught in the movements of, as you say, desire.
Mm. Yes.
And you need to dig a hell of a lot deeper than that. There's no problem with passion. Passion is not a problem. It's the way that we move with passion that makes it a problem. That you become basically a slave to this desire.
Mm.
And it's not healthy. So
Yeah, I
you
can feel it.
really need to find a new way around your inner meeting with passion And around this longing, the longing itself needs honesty. And it also needs a core dedication of you rooting your existence around truth. You know, it's not truth is something you take in an addition. That which is waiting to wake up in you requires you to be true to it. And then there can be partner, and then there can be work, and then there can be friends and massage courses and this and that and the other thing. But the center here needs to be truth. Because that's what you're going to have to fall back on every time there is an invitation deeper.
I'm not seeing the truth at the moment.
No, see. That's the same as saying you're not seeing you at the moment, love.
I feel that the feeling on it is that I've been trying to cut off an arm in the past 6 months, like with the chainsaw. This is the feeling. And it's been so painful. And I still don't know if I did the right thing or not. I don't know.
Sounds like a lot of fighting.
Pardon?
It sounds like a lot of fighting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Time to release that whole thing. And by release, I mean you have to stop occupying yourself with this because
Yeah.
it's self-defeating. And you're gonna meet grief and letting go, but that grief will be you coming in deeper into yourself. It's not about the story.
Hmm. Yeah.
The grief is wonderful because it gives birth to a new version of you, a new and deeper version of you. But you have to unhook from the storyline of this. Because the moment you pin it onto a story, you already sent it out and away from the silent core.
Yes.
And then you made it about something, and something which doesn't change, and something which seems to be a situation and all of this. But really, it's not. It's not.
I can see that because it's always the same story also. That's what makes me feel so stuck. Like the people change, but it's always the same story.
Yeah, so look, your insides is using this story to keep going, to keep looping, to keep running away from yourself, to not actually face the grief head on and without the story.
Mm.
But you know that the grief there is it's a sacred grief. So all of the movements of what you're doing right now is basically falling into the trap of the ego. Is the temptations to keep going, to keep going, to keep going, to not stop, to not become silent, to not become yourself.
Mm.
So it's just become that thing that you hedge up on to not drop, you know?
Mm. Yes. It's so difficult, this grief, because in a part of it is the story, the happenings, that connect me to it. Also.
But you know, in the end of the day, we are responsible for our here and now. There is no victimhood involved with that.
Yes, I know that. So there is still a part of me that gets hooked into this storyline.
Yes. And this is the interesting part, Emilia. This is about you discovering your patterns, discovering what patterns, or, you know, back in time they were called the monkeys, you know, which parts of which patterns are you running, which is deviating yourself from dropping deeper. So don't let yourself fall into the trap of believing that there's a problem and then searching for a solution. And that's what you do the moment that you set up the idea of this situation and there's a problem and you need a solution.
Yeah.
When you bring yourself mentally into that space, you are really setting a trap for yourself. And it's got nothing to do with this guy. It's got nothing to do with this woman or anything else. What happened at that massage was he moved his energy into you as a part of demonstrating this. And you are deeply longing to be met in there. And that was immediately projected out on him.
Yeah, I could feel it when it happened. Yes.
So seeing that and knowing that, do yourself the favor of coming into enough mastery of your mind to not go along with the story there. Go back to what it was about initially, which is that longing to be met.
That is true. That is the truth.
Yeah. And it's fucking heartbreaking, Emilia. But take the heartbreak instead of run your energy out on this, because it's understand me correctly, I'm not mean to sound insensitive or anything, but it's a waste of your time. While if you take the grief on head on, you are staying centered in that movement, which also will, again, understand me correctly, but dictate your life, the rollout of your life. Then there's not this not listening and then being out on these outer levels where basically you can't hear exactly what life is supposed to do. And that basically gives everything up for interpretation, you know? I don't know if I do the right thing, maybe I do the wrong thing, all of this right, wrong thing. That's all a mind trying to decide something. While the actual listening is only possible if you meet the grief first and foremost, but also not meeting the grief and then projecting it out on a story, but really meeting the, yeah, and acknowledging that your birth into beauty as yourself, as grace, as the feminine essence, is a fluctuation between pleasure and pain, and the pain is grief. So pleasure and grief. And this has to be accepted deep inside your core, that when this grief comes, you give yourself the space, you take good care, you watch your mind, you don't start projecting it into stories, you hold your mind close, you turn towards her in yourself, and you bow as deeply as you can, and let yourself be taken through that grief, so that the next wave of pleasure can arrive in your life, but inside yourself, not as something ignited from the outside. all of the outside, it's wonderful and it's beautiful and it's can be, I mean, such a gift also, and it can bring, humanly speaking, on the human layers, happiness and things like this. But the deep well-being, the deep contentment of being you, that's got to rest with you. And that rests with your willingness to be fully honest and fully self-confronting towards the grief and the pleasure.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I see that this whole journey has been both things actually. And I don't yeah, you're completely right about this pleasure and grief dance. And when I am in grief, I get lost in the story because it's almost like was a thing I could have done to avoid the pain. Yeah.
But it wouldn't have worked, darling, unless that thing would have helped you to not become yourself.
Mm.
In which case you were pretty lucky that you got away from that. Actually, let's not try, anyone here, let's not try to save ourselves from the pain. It's a very misunderstood way about things, because the grief itself can be so beautiful. It actually is so beautiful. It's only our inner preference of feeling that says we don't want that feeling. We want life to be bright and shiny, but we kind of forget that for things to be bright and shiny, they need the inner being contrast for us to be able to continue to grow in that beauty. Otherwise, we can't.
Yeah, I can really feel now this part of me that really longs to be set free of the story and just really be.
Yeah.
Mm.
It can only happen by you stepping into more self-responsibility, Amelia. Because I'm telling you right now, and you can hear it and you know it already. This story is made up.
Yes.
It's not really going on.
No, because it changed. I can see my mind changing it as I go on. I can see it change it from week to week. It's like a myth. It's like a myth. But then when I hook into the main story for me, because it's what happened with my parents, that there is a man and I'm not saying this is the situation, but with my parents, the story, my story, was that there is a man who's unsatisfied and there is a woman who's unsatisfied, and I'm in the middle. And so when I am close to anything that puts me back into this, that's where my inner child really, really sort of kicks in. And I can see it real time. And I try very hard not to fall into it. But these past few days, the grief was so strong and I fell into it. I really did. Yeah. And I really want to do the work. I'm really committed. But
I'm happy for you.
it's fucking painful. But also not just it's not the pain, because today I was crying a lot and I felt better actually.
Yeah.
Just letting.
Interesting, Emilia, how we can use the mind to make ourselves suffer even more. What a waste, huh? What a wasteful way to use a mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have had such a hard time with my mind the past few months, like a constant rumination. Oof, it's been the worst. The worst part really has been that the energy draining away.
Do you meditate sometimes?
I meditate every day. I do meditation. I do qigong, but I mean, I guess it's better than it was maybe 15 years ago.
Mm.
But when I am so close to this pattern, which has been a recurring projection, let's put it like that, it's just up. It's my mind that just really goes into overdrive. And I do meditate, and the meditation is good. But as soon as I stop meditating after a while, it's just goes back into trying to fix. How could I have fixed, managed, changed, how I could be better, and how I am not just good enough, etc., etc., etc.
Watch this.
Hmm?
Watch this.
Mm.
Your interest here shouldn't be what you're thinking. It should be to spot the patterns. When you spot the patterns, you can find the core beliefs that lie behind them. When you see the beliefs, you can acknowledge that they're not true and you can dissolve them through.
And it takes only that, just acknowledging that it's not true, I'm not good enough. It's not true that somebody else is better than me and somebody is more loved and I'm always alone. It's just like, because it feels like, okay, I see it. And then a month goes and then it comes back and it comes back. And it's almost, I feel like sometimes I really feel like if I watch only the mind, I feel like I'm going crazy. Luckily, I also have a body that I use a lot that helps me. But the mind is just like,
The mind needs purification, really.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
And the purification of the mind requires you to start unfolding the truth body, and the truth body opens through your head. And that truth body, its core essential nature is void, it is empty. So whenever you come into this corner of believing this, that, and the other thing, it's got to be held up against reality somehow. A reality which on the top level means letting go of thoughts rather than maintaining and upholding this identity in your head and its beliefs. You need to actually write. You can write your way out of this.
Mm. Writing about my beliefs and all of this, so seeing it on a page.
It's like this. You need
Yeah.
to see it in front of you. It's not enough. It goes on in here because you can't tell it apart. But when you see it in front of you, you can really tell, okay, this is not real. Mhm. And later on, when you've learned to do it like this, you can also start doing it in here, but that requires a certain level of wakefulness in seeing what's real and not. Yeah. You can't attain that as long as everything is weaved together in there.
Mm. Yeah. Oh, thank you.
It's
Mm.
definitely real. Yeah.
Pardon?
Stick with what's real,
Yes.
which basically means not sticking at all. It's relaxation.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Fluidity. I feel it in my body. I feel it in my heart. My head is not on board.
Transparent.
Mm.
Become transparent in your head.
Mm. Wow. Okay.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, love. Mm. Hi, Leah.
Hey. Yeah. There was quite a bit of things you said to Emilia that I can, brings me also to what I need to face. And it's interesting. So sometimes I feel like hiding from what's there to solve. And on the other hand, when I want to face it, it's like, okay, what's the next step? And what's the next step in healing? What's the next step with my family? And what's the next step in my life? And that's always a trap also for my mind to get very loud. Yeah, so I wanted to give this, it feels, it's somehow also stagnation, or it feels like stagnating, or an unableness to surrender. I don't know. I wanted to bring this up today.
I think it's very important. One thing is our acknowledgement and the workings of us towards the feminine essence. But we gotta acknowledge also that there is incredibly great importance in our realization of the masculine as well. There is deep, deep need for us to arrive into a deep silence. And in many ways, that realization of silence was taken as was glorified in a funny way from the patriarchal scope of reality, while actually that silence and the deep sensation of silence as presence needs to be the first step. It's the first step in unfolding all the rest, because the feminine needs a foundation where that silence is what's unfolding as her. So in that sense, our feminine needs our masculine to unfold. There's always going to be, or not always, but there are those layers where there's going to be the inclination to run and hide, and there's going to be the opposite that you need to walk with, where you're willing to confront all of these other places, all of these other ways.
Yeah, maybe it's more like accepting that there's silence now, because I experience, especially in the past months after the clinic, that there was like constantly something coming up and clearing and taking space and breathing. And now I experience somehow maybe it's also just like a break now from acting and doing something in the outside, and just like, stay still and just maybe also just enjoy what's there.
There's a getting to know yourself that's waiting there. Getting to know yourself in the relaxation, the breath. There's a whole activation of being in different aspects of you, which 100% depends on that. Depends on who to stop. Stop being all about out here, you know?
Mm-hmm.
There are two things that are undeniably connected.
Mm-hmm.
One thing is to actually come into a recognition of her. It's not just relating to her as her, or as truth, or as something, or even nothing. It's got a second side to it, which is a genuine self-interest of you wanting to know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
That is so pivotal in this, because that's the only way that those two things can get tied together.
Mm. Yeah, maybe that's the key, because like the last weeks were more about settling and getting to know the island and how do I manage this and that. And yeah, maybe I can create more space to actually meet myself. Yeah,
To listen.
to listen.
To receive.
Yeah, when I listen sometimes during the last, it often occurs that there's a lot of grief regarding my big brother.
No, no, no. There's a lot of grief, period. There might be connections in your understanding. Not to say that you can't have grief about your brother, but I think that there's a deeper, much deeper underlying grief that's waiting for you, Leah.
Okay.
A lot of our ability to grow in that container of silent being is to be with what's here in the now. Yeah.
Mm.
Being with what's here in the now isn't just what's happened to pop up into our awareness while we are up here. There's a we have a responsibility to drop in and to drop deeply down and to point our attention, our intention towards those inner grounds, because that's where the condition starts unbuttoning. That's
Mm-hmm.
the separate individual starts dissolving into something much bigger.
Yeah, lately I'm kind of searching like a handbook. Okay, how do I arrive there? And it feels stupid because it's like, okay, how can I do this somehow?
It's in the subtle. You need to get interested in the subtle.
In the soil,
In the subtle.
in the soil.
It's kind of like the wind is whispering a message can either be occupied with the loudness, you can listen even harder, you know,
Mhm.
really, what is it? And that kind of listening is needed from you,
Mhm.
alongside a deep yes to drop into feeling, 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 feeling,
Mhm.
feeling deeper. Also to not be afraid of the feelings that appear, but let them teach you to expand and contain more and more of yourself.
Mhm.
There's a great teacher in there, waiting to show you through to a much wider spectrum of being and a much deeper spectrum of being. But you know, every invitation of deepening comes with deep love of truth. Deepening doesn't happen without a deep, deep love of truth.
Mhm.
Deepening doesn't come from wanting to deepen or wanting to become her, or all of this. Wanting is a horrible agent for change.
Mhm.
Deepening basically equals falling in love with reality, falling in love with her in through your own body, falling into the center of the ground through falling into your own cells, falling into your brain and your skull and your skin, falling into your shoulders and falling into your heart, falling into your ground and falling into your belly, falling into your ovaries, falling into your pelvis, falling into your womb. But it's all a falling in love, you see. This is letting go. This is surrendering. It is a fall. It's literally the sensation of falling inside. The moment we want something, we are like this, and this is why they don't work together. Wanting can't allow that change because it's on its toes already. It's like, because we want because of something else, yeah. So we think that if we get it, then something gets better, or something gets this or this or that. But wanting itself, it's up here, it's out there, and it's like something I can get. While really, a falling in love with truth is a transformation of all of that wanting into being, you know? So it's an acknowledgement of what's here and a deepening in what's here and a taking it in from everywhere and a receiving that deep surrender and that deep, and meeting all those places where there's a deep longing for arrival of presence. But ladies, we can't do this if we don't let ourselves fall. We can only fall in love with her. The same thing that happens when we come into the ground. We fall down through the body, we fall into the ground of being, we fall into the earth, and it creates like 1,000 branches of our consciousness and awareness that goes in to meet the roots of every single line of intelligence that exists through the soil, through the power of nature, through the force of creation, and so on and so forth. But it's all like a network, and we have to grow into it, and we can't grow into it if we're on our toes and you know, like a sharp, no, it's a really like it's a coming down, the falling in love. Falling in love with all of the parts of you, and not because of the parts, not because it makes you something else. It's simply a fall. What it is it's going to make you whole, in the sense that your awareness is going to go from this wide and fully embracing the entire scope of your humanity. And therefore, as a human, you're going to arrive in wholeness. But that's like stepping from here to here. And there's like there's endlessness to fall into. Of course, you're not going to stop at human wholeness. Why would you? There is endless with wisdom. There is endless with, you know, the power of creation. It created everything. Why stop at anything, right? So don't be, it's like you can only receive everything if you are not concerned with getting something in particular, right? Yeah, something like that. Be aware. So let all of the self-protection drop. When I say self-protection, I mean that protection that keeps your separate self in place and keeps it safe and untouched and the ruler of your house. Let go of that in every single place and manner that you can get away with it, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Let it drop. Do nothing to maintain or uphold pride or, you know, like anything. Know that humility comes from dropping everything. Everything. And arriving into what's truly here.
Yeah, it's so crazy that at one side there's something longing for it and wanting to break free, and then on the other side, oh, I'm never gonna show myself to anyone. Just like, huh?
But look at this, Leah, because it's exactly like Amelia. The egoic self and the egoically wired mind and heart and even the ground, it is one closed, completely self-sustaining unit.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the prison. But it's completely airtight. You need to see everyone else is living in this bubble.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to break out of that bubble, then you're going to have to, every way you can, rub on that edge and drop through to the next layer and drop through to the next layer and drop through to the next layer. It's not weird what you're telling me, that it's so crazy that on one side it looks like that. No, because you're talking about the strength of samsara. You're talking about the strength of that self-protected, self-sustained unit, which has kept you imprisoned until now.
Mm.
So in many ways, becoming real, becoming true, there is an inner battle going on between true and false.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way to break out of that is by continuously and ever more strongly root yourself in true, becoming and giving more and more, letting go on the side of the false.
Mm-hmm.
There's not true and a little more true. There's true and there's false. And all of the things that we are inventing out of the separate self are enhancing and strengthening the false, the separateness, that which is actually everything within that construction is simply waiting to fall apart. Because it's a construction. It was made. It isn't what is and what always was. It was made out of, it was born out of ignorance, basically. It was born out of collective consciousness. It was born out of keys you were handed, all of which, none of which were, I would rather say it like this, none of which were pointing to your essence. So we picked up a lot of stuff we don't need. And the biggest gift we can give ourselves is to be willing to lose all of it, to find out what's left when we don't keep any of that stuff. And it's I say probably, it's scary also for the sense of falling apart. Falling apart and falling in love is the same thing. Because when you're falling in love, you're falling into reality. But from the separate self, when you construe your head to looking from that side, it's a falling apart. Because of course, there has to be a falling apart of the construction to come into reality, right? You have to fall apart to fall in love. You can't keep your separate self. And truth isn't an addition or an upgrade of the separate self. It's a falling away of the separate self. It's a dissolution. It's a dissolving. It's a death for life. It's a death for reality, for essence, for source. It's a death of fear. We cannot have a closed bubble without contraction. You see, this is what makes bubble possible. Relaxation, there is no bubble. Do like this, there's a bubble. So contraction or fear was the cause of that creation in the first place. And we can't fall in love while sticking with fear. So we need to let that creation of that contraction fall apart, to re-enter love, to remember, to recognize, to realize, to actualize. Yeah. And it also means that actually we have to get completely okay with some pretty fucking hardcore feelings sometimes, ladies. But you know what? It all fits under her belt. So yes, you can tuck that in there as well, because you need to know every angle of yourself. You need to know the feeling of falling apart. You need to know the feeling of feeling absolutely freaking helpless from that separate unit, because in the separateness, we are fucking helpless. We are not connected with God. We are not connected with God. We are not connected with nature. We are not connected with reality. And without that, what are we? We're freaking alone. We're helpless. So if we won't take that feeling of being helpless, how can we burst the bubble? If we're constantly looking for something to make us feel stronger or this, the strength, trust me, it comes, but the strength is born through the ashes. It's like the phoenix. You have to acknowledge and let yourself fall apart for the strength to arise through the ashes. Or you can't be born simply. And the more quiet you become in the death process, the more you fall in love with falling apart, the deeper you can fall in love with yourself. You see? And it's a freaking beautiful thing. The more we fight against our own death, the harder it is for us also to meet anything real in ourselves. It's a fatal thing to learn this. And I speak to you about, for instance, the cultivation that's happening here now of this blackness, and it's turning in on itself as pure power and things like this. There is absolutely no way you can ever touch that unless you learn to not only accept your own death, become comfortable in your own death, fall in love with your own death.
Mm.
Yeah, okay, Falling in love with life and falling in love with death. Both incredibly pivotal things in this life. You see it everywhere. It's right there, the teaching of this in nature. It's right.
Yeah.
Cycle. Every cycle has blossoming, a fading, a dying, and a rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
Every freaking cycle, every year. And yet somehow, most of us as humans manage to escape the fact. And why is that? We forgot, and we damn well need to remember. We can't return to nature or the natural or the power of creation. Those can't be separated. We can't return to our essence without becoming natural again. We can't become natural without witnessing, without embracing and falling in love with these seasons inside ourselves. Does it make sense, this, ladies? We're not separate units. We're one with nature. So, yes, Leah, there's an invitation right now into deep silence. Thanks, Ali. Hey again.
Hi again. I have two questions. One is related to what you were talking about with Leia. It is a frustration that I have sometimes when I hear the words that you have that resonate with me so much, but also they feel so abstract. And I know from experience now, I've been working with you for a while, that there are moments then when they drop, when the thing happens, and then I'm like, oh, okay, that's what it was. But because this frustration is still there, like for example, it's like almost like it's like an energetic, you're talking about an energetic, and then when I'm in that energetic, then I can recognize it. But I'm wondering if there is a more direct way to work with this. For example, the grief, to take one of these topics, the grief for me is something that I have a hard time connect with unless something from the outside pushes me into it. But I know it's always there because when I'm in it, I recognize it as a part of myself.
So this comes down to how much of your awareness are you spending in the outside And how much of that awareness is inside doing its job? Because when you place that awareness inside yourself, then you are going to be present and resting in yourself. When you're resting in yourself, you are directly plugged into that ground where that grief arrives in waves. But when you uproot from your own rest in yourself and you become all about what's going on out here, of course, there is no connection. And then you're basically, because the waves still want to happen on the inside, you know? So when you are not paying attention, when you are not paying attention, then you are asking the outside to manifest in some way something that reminds you of what's going on the inside. And then you recognize, you realize, you feel the feeling and it passes. But you see, this way of moving with life is causing a lot of unnecessary griefs for your human being, which are not needed. Because you are causing yourself to have a life where you continuously are pushed around because you are not paying attention. So you are waiting for something else to remind you of what's going on in you. And you don't need to move this way, Emilia. You can bring yourself back to the point. You can bring yourself back to living from a place of deep self-rest. And when you're living with yourself instead of apart from yourself. But you see, it all comes down to what you want. And when you get too caught up in the desire of what you want out here, you get blinded to the real value of the source of everything that's out here. Because that's in here. Actually, down here. So this is why I'm saying what I'm saying about falling in love with. You need to truly fall in love with her. And you can only do that by allowing yourself to drop in and down and then to own that longing. Because the moment you send out the longing, love is on its way. The moment that you are with recognizing and embracing your longing, God is already on the way. But if you're not owning the longing, then your being and your body is not calling. If it's not calling, then you are basically already so far removed, and then you're trying to push things around out here in existence and managing to cause those situations which have the same purpose every time, to remind you that this grief is in there and it's a part of your essential nature. Yeah.
I'm wondering, and this is coming up now, if you could speak a bit more about wanting, because this is something that I have been struggling with lately. What it is, a lot of people are asking me, but what is it that you want? And I'm like, I have a hard time wanting lately. It's like in the work that I've done in the past years, I've stopped trusting my wanting. I've stopped using it, but that is also cutting me off from a power that I have. So I don't really know what is going on there, but something is going on.
I can let you know what's going on if you want.
Yeah.
With love. Cutting, the thing is that a part of your life's teaching here is the acknowledgement of the existence of yourself as essence. Your hardship around this is that you get caught up in desire. So you need to learn how to manage yourself in a different way. What you were doing before caught up in desire, big fucking whirlwind of chaos takes place from that. Okay, so you go into cultivation and you went into a lot of silence. And somehow that gave you space from the wanting, but it also created a lot of silence. So now you basically have a way out from the wanting, but the wanting itself still wasn't resolved. So you got out of that forest and you were ready to, okay, life is to happen now. But what you need to see is that you are arriving exactly the same place as you were before. You have the option to retract to silence, yes. Back into life, the same thing still needs to happen. And the same thing that needs to happen is that you need to find your way instead of being caught up in desire. You need to sink in, you need to sink down, and you need to start meeting life as it is. You need to purify your relationship with passion itself. Desire is the result of wanting. Wanting is someone riding on the life force or the passion of being itself.
Yes.
And you need to solve this. Right now, this is words to you. You need to acknowledge, to realize.
I need to live it. I need to
Yes.
ride it.
Yes.
I need to meet it very intimately to be able to become, to master this part of myself.
And Emilia, you have no other way anymore.
Yeah, it's true.
But you can
It's
only
true.
do this. There are aspects here that you need to keep an eye on because they start playing in when we start talking about this. Shame. Shame around the feminine essence, shame around the passion. And it's not even yours, to be fair. It's collective, which means it's also yours, but it's also yours to dissolve that collective pressure that it's having on you. It can only happen if you are fully willing to feel shame when that is in the equation. So that's
the shame and the guilt are the hardest part, actually. I mean, yeah.
see.
Mm.
So these two things, you need to work very consciously with these. And then you need to start befriending, you need to start befriending passion in its cleanest, clearest form. And that means that you acknowledge that passion can happen on the inside of you without you immediately needing to project it out on some man.
Yeah.
Because it's about you, this. It's not about a man. Yes, a man steps into the picture somewhere when you're ready for it. But don't project the longing for yourself out on a longing for a man, because you need to meet yourself first.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting how the picture you gave me about the massage, because it's exactly what I felt. I felt it in the moment it happened. I felt this like energetic arm starting from my womb and going out and grabbing something. And then that's just started, just then dissolved into a fantasy, and it grew, and it just like, you know.
Unclench, woman.
I think in the beginning it was very tangible, but then it just moved beyond. It went to the mythological realm, but and with all the projections with my parents. But so if taking it into practical side of it is that I can use whatever is happening right now in my life, whether it is massage course, whether it's going to be something else, to really meet these pieces.
Yes.
Slowly and consciously.
But what you need to be aware of is that what you need to meet is actually yourself.
Yeah.
You need to meet the option of passion inside yourself in a way that makes you go, instead of go, you know.
Yeah. Something that comes to mind is 5 or 6 years ago, I was in a silent retreat, sort of like a Vipassana. And there was no man that I was interested in at this retreat. My sexual energy, I was so horny that my cushion was wet. This is like, I don't know how else to put it, but it was just like, and I could not, the sexual energy was, and it was so difficult for me to stay in it, because it's like almost this energy was pushing out. And I feel this is related because it's you're not gonna put this on YouTube, please.
Okay, I need to share this with you as well, Emilia. Look, when I was through the initial stages of meeting passion in myself, there were times where I was alone in my place, and I was living in Sweden at that point in time. And when these waves would roll in, it could basically only happen when there was nothing around, you know? But then when they would roll in, I would be so extremely horny that I could have fucked a goat that passed down on the road, you know, if anything passed down there. Literally, it was so extreme that it filled the whole room. And you need to be with these passings. And it's not going to last, Emilia. Don't worry.
Yeah.
It is the initial meetings of how strong a passion wants to move in. But it's like, for the system to get accustomed to this, we need to get accustomed to the sensation of passion in the body.
Yeah.
And it simply requires us to pass through those places.
Yes.
I mean, it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, but it sounds funny when we say it, but when you're in it, it's really mad. It's really mad. And when I'm thinking about it, I'm almost feeling that this relates to my head going crazy, that when I have these strong waves of passion, then I want to control it. All this energy goes into the head to try and escape this movement. And so there is a huge split.
It's supposed to go everywhere, honey.
Yeah.
What it matters is whether or not you hold your mind in silence.
Yeah.
It's waiting.
This is good.
Percolate through your whole body, your whole being.
Yeah. I'm happy we're having this conversation, because those waves of passion, and it's happened for years now, but when it comes, it's so easy. And the interesting part was in that retreat, because in that retreat was no man that I was interested in. It was just like coming. And yeah, and I guess it's always that thing, but when I have a man outside, it's just so easy to fall in love with a fantasy, or
so easy to project it outside yourself.
Yeah.
It is a direct bypassing of the fact that it is yourself.
Yes.
So freaking automatic. Why do you think I have a men's and a women's group here? It's exactly the same reason. Where do you want to project that now? You can't. So whenever we are inviting this, when we are sitting here, it can't actually anything but land right somehow. But this is exactly the point. Yeah. Hey, let's when you ladies are coming for our groups, we're gonna have like 2.5-hour session per day. But let's also see if we can have some meditations in between, or as a part of that, or something. Let's open this and see what is it like when we can explore. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. Be great, because I think it would help also with the shame and the guilt when it becomes a shared. Like when you said that it was something in me relaxed, because we feel so alone in these moments. And I think that also helps to project, because then you don't want to feel alone, and you want somebody helping you out and sharing it. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah. In the end of the day, we all have to learn to contain exactly what we're meant to be ourselves.
Yeah.
And wait or reach out for someone else to help us do that.
Yeah.
You can receive the keys to do that, but in terms of actually holding yourself, that's your job. That's your job for this life. I'm talking to every one of you, because there's no other other way to become yourself other than learn to stand in exactly what you are. And that involves this. By the way, a little bit while I remember, there are still, I think, two or maybe three, no, I think 2 spots left in the double rooms. So if anyone would like to attend the retreat and where it matters to them that they can in a double room, then maybe it's time to act. Yeah. And then there's a sleeping hall, of course. And there is room for everyone. Yeah. Let's continue. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've had this feeling a lot recently that of this container, that there is a resistance to contain, there is a knowing, but there is also like this difficulty to step into the container. There's a lot of resistance.
The container is your masculine, Emilian.
Oh.
Container is the space.
Mm.
And the passion is her, your feminine, waiting to fill that space. But you have to grow in to become that space, to be able to fill that space. Otherwise, the power that rolls in over becomes rampant. So the space to hold, which is your masculine, is as important as the life which is coming to fill it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I think it's enough for now. Thank you.
Okay, I am really not very happy to say this. It's 1:45, and I would really love to wait, but I really need a wee, so you're gonna have to wait. Give me 2 minutes. Yeah. Hello, Gosia.
Hi, Pema. Yeah, it's like what's showing up, I feel in me. It's shame, I guess, and it's good to be in it, and to be witness in it. And last week, I talked about longing, and we talked about longing, and what's my understanding is now, it's that before I was longing still through this victim frequency, like strongly. And it's like what I was meeting was lack and absence. And now I feel like, blowing it up and breaking it through. And it's like I'm feeling him now, I'm longing for him and I'm feeling him. And it is connected to meeting a man 6 months ago, and he's in Poland. And it's like, even when we met in a group of friends and he hugged me, and there was this, like, I felt hair inside so strongly in me, and I was just relaxed. And we've been in touch. So it's like, it's that. And then bringing it home constantly to me, and trying not to project. But it's like now more and more this meeting of him in presence, that, that like really think, he is here. And then I feel now I can really deepen in this longing, and like when I'm feeling it more, I'm just realizing how strong my longing is and how passionate it is. And it's like I'm on fire, you know, really on fire. And I guess it's only like the beginning, you know, it's the deepening. And then I feel on a human level, yeah, even like meeting this man, and he's kind of getting out of a marriage. So, you know, it's complex, and we kind of honestly talked with each other, and I expressed my attraction and he expressed his attraction, but he's also choosing to be by himself now. And you know, and actually it feels right. And yet we're still in touch. And it's like, I feel he's emotionally present, but I feel it's also clean. I don't feel like it feels clean. And I feel I just have such yes. So it's like in each moment, I'm like, yeah, listening to myself and to my body and my womb, and there is this yes, and then I follow this yes, you know, I allow this yes, and it's like I allow, yeah, to feel myself as the feminine, as in ways that I didn't before. And that also I feel safe with him to actually express it without like grasping or. So for me, it's like both, yeah, deepening inside of me on myself, and then also playing on this human level and exploring, and I just wanted to share it. And maybe, yeah, something what I need to be careful of in this situation. I don't, you know, to stay, yeah, not to project, not to go outside, but really actually go deeper and deeper and deeper, and maybe meet this man in this way, and like real honesty, you know.
Instead of causing, like, be careful with this, that, and the other thing. Instead of doing, hello, dude. Instead of causing, instead of causing caution, that's not helping anything in a drop zone. Yeah. These things, when they appear and seems, yeah, you know, that like things that needs resolution. Let's handle the things that needs resolution instead of the other way around.
And for me, it's just, you know, really trusting myself, really trusting my essence, you know, and really hearing where is the yes, where is the no, and yeah. It's nice, you know, it's really actually nice to now be in this place and feel it all. It's really nice.
It has room for everything, you know. That field there is very open for pleasure and pain and love and all the things that needs to be met and causes fear, and the whole thing. Yeah. The whole thing is there. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank
you. I'm happy for you.
It's like feeling love, feeling satisfied in myself, you know, it's like with myself. It's like, wow, it's such a nice feeling. It's such a nice feeling.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, just being me more. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Um, mm. Really good. Mm. I'm very happy to be sharing this retreat with you soon. Get a very beautiful feeling around it. Also considering doing a few, making ready for a few, like 1.5 hour, just these dance movement meditations upstairs. Maybe some of the evenings or something like this. Let's see how it rolls. Mm. 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 It's not the easiest time that we're in. We're watching slowly, and maybe not so slowly in some areas, but an end of something before the birth of something new. Like even like an end of this civilization, which went as far as it can go on this kind of disconnected craze somehow. And a new beginning of us coming into something more, coming into a different ground to exist on, or an actual ground to exist on. And it's a great pleasure to be doing and sharing this journey with you. And with you. Mm. Thank you so much, beautiful women. Wonderful to share the night with you. Enjoy yourselves. I look forward to see you next week. And Merry Christmas. Bye.